What is up? Welcome back to the SuperCoach Experience podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Savage, the coach of the Xavier Turbos. Welcome to round 22 of the NRL season. This is the last week before head-to-head finals kicks off next week. Joined with me, the coach of the Pretenders. Usually, I've got Timmy sitting on the other side, opening up with a sledge to Grant. Do you have something in return? Because I've only just noticed recently that Timmy always opens with the sledge to somebody, and I think you're his latest target.
Yeah, no, I've got nothing for Timmy, except for the fact that I'm slightly ahead of him in the ranks. But I got nothing for Timmy. I do notice that most weeks, and I do have a good chuckle to myself. It's good. I mean, look, if you can't have a giggle at yourself, what can you have in life?
I noticed it because Had's message in our group chat last week saying, "Timmy, you are hilarious."
Yeah,
and I'm like,
no, it was good. It was
I'm
a good
like,
one.
what did he say? And I listened back to it, and I'm like, I did not.
Did you bring the tape measure? You sledge. I'm ready, mate.
Yeah.
Look, put it this way. I reckon I can get that done sooner than you can get your Macca's challenge done. There was some pretty good chat in the group chat about that during the week. But yeah, no, I'm really excited, Savs. Very excited because I'm no longer Mr. Missionary anymore. I have had I've had an up and down fortnight, and I've loved every minute of it. It's been great. It's so much better than just like miserable, tiny little green arrows. So
There's
I loved
emotions involved.
Yeah, it's been mad. I've loved it. I'm so excited.
Do you want to talk us through? I think you scored like 14.95 2 weeks ago, right after we talked about, let's put a bet on where Grant finishes, 10 to 17,000. You were like, dare I say, you would have been top 1,000?
I was 84th for the week.
84th?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, I jumped up from like 3,900th to 1,700th. And this last week, I might as well get into the scores. So I got 1251. Didn't get too much wrong, Captain Niko, but, there was lots of people did. Got hit by the Hughes injury versus having CLEARY to some people, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think of it as sort of a save week. I literally only had 18 players to choose from. So whenever you got that sort of, I guess, limited option, and you only, I think I dropped down from 1,750 to 1,950 or something like that. So 200 spots this time of year, it's not much considering I went up 2,200 the week before. As I said, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I want to go better than that, but if that's my worst week that I have from here out, or if that's a bad week for me at the moment with the way my team's going, I must be doing something right.
Well, it's kind of the way to go about it, isn't it? Like, just make sure you strike at the right time, and the back end of the season is the right time to strike. Do you have trades left?
I do have trades left.
Yeah.
No, I've got 4 going into this week. So 4 isn't heaps. I'd like to have 1 or 2 more, but I think I look back at my season and just kind of think there was a couple of times where I went trade in, injury, trade that guy in for someone else, injury, and I looked back. I've had about 20 players that have gotten injured within 3 weeks of me buying them this year. So all those things considered, I'm pretty happy to be sitting in the top 2,000 at this point. It hasn't been a perfect year by any stretch, but I think I've made a lot of good decisions along the way.
I don't think I've been hurt that much by the injuries. I feel like I haven't kind of followed the trends most weeks because I've either got in front of the trend or ignored the trend.
Yep.
So I've done some good things and done some bad things, and that's kind of balanced itself out. I'm at 2,800th, and it is my second highest rank of the year, which is nuts because it feels like coming into the weekend, I was speaking to Timmy on the phone and pretty much saying to him, my side is so shit this week. I have no strike power whatsoever. I scored 1370 on the weekend. Captain Nathan CLEARY. The Jerome Hughes injury, it's a massive blow for SuperCoach, especially for someone like myself. 4 trades left going into the week. Already used 1 to go key on to Payne Haas. Yep. The Jerome Hughes injury happened. I reversed trades from DC to CLEARY straight away. But then just a part of me, just that aggressive side of me, SuperCoach-wise, wanted to pull that trigger, put the captaincy on Nathan CLEARY. I'm actually happy I did it. It puts me 60 points ahead than what I would have been. So let's see where that takes me at the end of the season. But it does burn an extra trade, which I do not have many of. I have 2 into this week and potentially one after this week. So I guess we'll see how we go for the back end of the season. I usually kind of run at this thin most years, so I'm just hoping my depth will keep me afloat. I'm very happy with the decision, to be honest. I don't think DC is someone I want to have on the run home. Yep. And Cleary was someone I really wanted in my side, especially with this lack of strike power I did have. But that being said, I had a free loop on the weekend. Charlie Gomez 60 was my AA, so I had every opportunity to loop Scott Drinkwater's 91. But I just felt like it was a week that the guns were just going to gun. So, and they did.
Yeah, so did I, except for the bloke who couldn't do it against Bunnies on the weekend. He was a bit unlucky. Look, Niko was pretty unlucky. It was just, I mean, I don't know how many times it's been commented on, and this will be no news to almost every NRL fan out there, but whenever Trindle gets it overly involved, it just seems to cramp their style. I think Trindle as the lead half would be completely fine, or Niko as the lead half, completely fine. They just don't gel. And I think at some point they've got to drop. I don't think it's an ego by any stretch, because Fitzy's a pretty chill guy, but I think they've got to find a way to accept that even with Atkinson moving next year, their ceiling is capped with their current halves, and they have to do something different. It's just like Groundhog Day there. We've all seen how much shit the Dogs have copped in the last month or so for going away from the guys that got them to the top away from Sexton and giving Galvin a go. How good were they on the weekend? Unreal. I think the Sharks could benefit from something similar.
And the Sharks have kind of coasted along with this average footy, like having really good weeks here and there, and then they just plateaued to this point. We thought Blake Brayley was the answer, and I think he was the answer.
They just went away from it.
I think he still is the answer, but Braden Trindle took over, and this halves pairing is so confusing. It is not working. It is not what they should be going with in the future. And we've all said it. Every single week, a week like this happens. It's just when they have really good weeks, we're just like, okay, maybe they've just learned to deal with it.
Yep.
But that's not the recipe of a really good halves pairing. Learning to deal with it, they should be flourishing in their environments. And in my opinion, there was just too many times on the weekend. I don't know if you saw in the first half, Niko was calling the ball. Braden Trindle ran from around the ruck to get the ball in front of him and just completely cut off the play. And
you can see that it frustrates Niko, because he's not, like, he wears his heart on his sleeve a little bit, and you see him sometimes throw his hands up, or, he doesn't then kick, he then picks himself up and he's ready for the next play, but you often see him just that little bit of frustration, and it must be killing him to know, like, they look around at training, they've got a great squad, they've got depth, they've got players everywhere across the park that are super talented, hardworking forward pack, and they just can't hit that ceiling that we all know it's there. Like, we can tell that there's a bit more there, but they went away from what worked for them 2 weeks before, which was playing really hard direct footy and letting Brayley play off it. Admittedly, they spent a lot of time in the Bunnies 20, and sometimes it's not easy to kind of just go through teams when you're already down that end of the field. You kind of do have to play sort of to different structures and try different things, but something like 60 or 70 tackles in the red zone, and they beat Souths, who were completely depleted by 2 points. I don't know how they can look in the mirror and not see we've got to try something. We can't compete with these top teams where we are right now.
100% agree. And you see weeks prior, Niko 10 kicks, Trindle 10 kicks. The week before was like, I think it was Trindle 11, Niko 7. On the weekend, Trindle 20, Hines 3. Like, it is ridiculous how much the side is affected when Trindle gets his hands way too much on the ball. I think they've just got to set a rule. If they want to persist with this halves pairing, Trindle, stay on the left.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all they need to do.
Yep. And look, they were also missing, Nikora, and they were missing, like, it wasn't their exact normal structure, but there's no excuse for that. Like, not to the level, like, look at who Souths are missing, and they took them all the way. The whole 80 minutes they played them, like, they probably could have won that game, to be honest, Souths. And it was just a tough watch. But, that's looking at it from a SuperCoach perspective. It was awesome to watch, just NRL-wise, just see how brave Souths were. They're going to be a tough side if they can ever get over the injury curse.
I actually loved watching that game because I didn't have Niko in my side, who was ruled out the week prior for a HIA. And I didn't have Niko in my side as well. So The fact that Niko wasn't getting many shots a goal, wasn't getting many opportunities. I mean, it was bloody heart-wrenching watching them attack the line so often. But the fact that South just kept turning him over, it was really good to see. I guess that brings us on to our first kind of topic, getting your eye in. How do you think the scope of the NRL is at the moment? And in terms of SuperCoach, which is what we're here for, with a matchup like that, Sharks versus the Rabbitohs, it looks so obvious on paper. The stats lined up. We looked at the stats the week prior, 87 halfbacks average 3 weeks prior to the Rabbitohs. Can you foresee these things, or do you put it down to luck? And when do you feel like you've got to look into it versus go your gut? Like I feel like no one could see that coming.
Yeah, well, for me, I was going with my gut, and that was going with my gut was I don't really believe in Niko as a captain option the last year and a half or however long it's been. But going with my gut was all the numbers looked right. South looked like they just put in a pretty brave performance week before, but got run over pretty comfortably at the back end. Sharks looked like they'd turned a corner. They were playing a new style. Like, unfortunately for us, we don't sit at training with them. We don't, we're not in the team. Like, we don't know what they're going to do, and you can only go off what you see. So, yeah, I don't sort of beat myself up with those sorts of things. Hindsight's, I still would have made the same call. I don't think for those that VC'd Drinky or those that VC'd Edwards, I don't think they put enough points on to loop it, for example. And if you did VC or C Nath, then probably I would have taken that 120 odd he was at full time. But Niko still looked a good play. Weather was okay. It just looked right. So yeah, I think NRL wise, there's going to be more matchups like that, and there's going to be some that you don't foresee coming. The Dolphins beat the Bulldogs by 40 points at one point this year. There's no way anyone saw that coming. Not a chance. And if you did captain someone in that game and it worked, I would say, that's the swings and roundabouts of SC. There's no such thing as 100% certain, and there's no such thing as, definitely not either. It all falls in between.
Usually this time of year we can it's obvious what the matchups are. Yep. And I think with that one in particular, it was just one of them ones that it was like, okay, Niko's going to score well, but how well is he going to score? And it just didn't happen for him, and this will happen. I tend to find that teams don't have massive losses 2 weeks in a row. So I would like to kind of go back to teams who have had really big performances the week before. So look at the Rabbitohs. We just saw they put a monumental effort in. They play the Broncos, who just come off a loss this week. I think the scripts are going to flip this week, and the Broncos probably put a score on them, to be honest.
And that's the stuff you can look for. But again, I then look at it and think, well, if Souths were to put in another, let's say 60, 65-minute performance, let's say it does blow out at the back end, because that's what happened the week before to them. It's just harder for them to play 80 at the moment. But, I could easily see the Broncos winning by 20 points, but they might get all those at the back end, and it might be a random assortment of guys falling over the line like late in the game when it's already decided, you know what I mean? Your Gashevskis and random guys like that stealing them. So I think the other thing to factor in is it an easy game to predict where they're going to attack? Do the try maps line up? Do your points to position line up? They all said that Niko was good to go.
The stats lined up with Niko.
I don't, and I agree with you. I think, a guy like Reece Walsh potentially is a great VC option or C option, depending on what way your VCC works this week. But if then we turned up to the podcast next week and he'd scored 62, it wouldn't shock me. Like, that's just the way the NRL has been so unpredictable this year compared to other years. At this stage of the year, I'm sure some teams are going to start to fall over soon. But I mean, the Titans just went to New Zealand and rolled the Warriors. Did anyone see that coming? Not really.
No.
With Tino out. So, it's fun though. That's what it's meant to be. It's not meant to be super predictable all the time. We've gone away from the years of Parker and Gallen and all these back rowers being, you just chuck the C on them and you kind of know what you're going to get. It's kind of fun to chase those big scores. I mean, look at Hines this week. Well, Dylan Edwards was the guy last week that people chased, and it paid off. You don't often just nail captain after captain after captain. So to everyone who had Edwards the week before and Niko this week, well, you're averaging 110 10 with your captain over the last 2 weeks. Not too bad.
It is pretty good. And I feel like it just means the way this year is going, it's more room for opportunity because it's not obvious who's going to score those big scores. We saw Connor Tracy on the weekend, 129. Like, a lot of people had him through that middle period, sold him for the back end of the year, just thinking, yeah, he's not a keeper, but dropping 129 on pretty much 2 weeks after the buys finish up and everyone's kind of sold him. It's just that kind of play that you need in your side to make a difference.
Well, in a big game too, like that was like Manly were up for that from the start, and the Dogs played unreal to win by what they did. You can't predict that stuff. You take it when it goes your way, but you also can't sit there and, you know, I'm sure there's some Connor Tracy owners out there who've had to hold him for whatever reason they've had to, and they're kind of sitting there going, you beauty. But if you can look your mates in the eyes and seriously say, you know, no, of course I was holding him for that Manly matchup. Like, I think, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I am going to start calling the Bulldogs Grant McCartan.
Why is that?
Because I still think they're pretenders.
See, that's one of your better ones, mate. I'll allow that.
Connor Tracy is out this week. Let's go to, injury. So big injury news. But let's go to the team list wrap-up. Parramatta play the Storm on Thursday night, 7:50 p.m. Josh Papali'i is still at fullback, and they remain relatively unchanged for the Melbourne Storm. Ryan Papenhuyzen returns and Jerome Hughes is out. Tyron Wishart comes into number 7 and Nick Meaney goes back into the centres. Here, Jonah Pezzett is on the bench as well, so I assume that potentially Jonah Pezzett comes on and plays 7, which I find strange, but I don't know what's going to happen there. So if you are looking at Wishy, I'd probably give it a week.
Well, it's probably a combination of that and just the uncertainty around Papenhuyzen, I'd say. Whether that's a late swap and he doesn't actually get back for this week. There was some comments from the, I don't know if it was from the Storm's CEO, but it was someone in the Storm, might have been the chairman, whoever it was, that that basically the injury was sort of, and we all know this by now, but the injury was worse than they initially thought, and that they would just be happy if he was sort of ready for finals. And that only came out yesterday. So then to be named today, look, even if he plays, Pezzett is probably there as the insurance policy, right? If something happens or if he feels a bit uncomfortable, then he goes there and Wishart goes to centre and Meaney goes to fullback, something like that, right? There's multiple ways to look at it, but it does make anyone who was kind of thinking, oh yeah, I'll jump straight on Wishart potentially this week, does make him a bit of a question mark.
100%. Sorry, I was a bit distracted there because I'm looking at my bet of the week. I've got it locked in. It's not a regular segment for us, but
no, I like when you bring it in because you always bring it in when you've got something. And last time was just interesting because all sorts of shit happened to the two guys you backed.
Yeah, I know, ridiculous. But this one, I'm more confident on this one. And big, what's the word? Hot tip. It is still in the realms of what I was doing before. So, double hooker bet.
Okay.
For the same game. Warriors take on the Dolphins, 6 p.m. on the Friday. Chance Nickel Clockstad at fullback. Tomorrow Martin in at 5'8". Interesting call there. 200K. It looks like Shano Harris-Tavita is out. Did he get injured?
Yeah, he's got a calf complaint of some kind. No description of what.
Yeah, interesting. Wade Egan is out and Sam Healy in at number 9. I actually don't mind him as a play, to be honest. Especially in draft, maybe. For the Dolphins, they return, and Jake Avarillo is on the wing. Cody Nikorima at 5'8". Anything interesting here?
Well, the interesting thing is Nikorima's back for the Dolphins, so that I think changes their attacking structure. Probably brings Herbie back into the game for anyone who hasn't got him and was maybe hoping they could get away another week after the bye. The Warriors, obviously a tough-ish matchup, but yeah, that Fisher Harris is also out for the Warriors. Vaima Unga is starting. So
they are running thin.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, their young forwards are so fun to watch. But the only interesting thing I've got for this game is that as far as I've looked so far, it will be the driest game of the round. It's definitely the only one I've seen
this weekend.
Oh yeah, definitely the only game that I've seen that is completely clear at this stage.
Wow, that's huge because the matchups this week are very nice.
Yep.
So
happy to provide a weather update if you
Yeah, let's do that for every game. So that will be Warriors home stadium. Friday night, Broncos take on the Rabbitohs at Suncorp. And Dean Mariner is on the wing for no Karapani. So if you held Karapani, that's huge. That is huge.
Got me.
Payne Haas is named on the starting side. Jai Gray named a fullback for the Rabbitohs. Bailey Bentley Harpe on the wing for Tyrone Munro. And Jamie Humphries is back. Ryan Gray in a hooker. Not much else doing there. Anything interesting here?
Nah, just Brisbane. This is the other game that is meant to be dry. They've been changing the amount of mils, but it's a sort of 0 to 5 mil day in Brisbane. So that's the other dry-ish game. Even the Thursday night game that we skipped over, which is in Sydney, it's meant to be wet at CommBank on Thursday.
I think Adam Reynolds is a massive pod for this game.
Yeah, there's probably a few halfback pods running around this week. Obviously, all eyes are on Cleary, but I think it's probably worth us having a chat about a few of the options.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on to the 3 p.m. Saturday game, Seabus Super Stadium weather check here.
Last I looked, and I'm just getting it up again now, the Saturday in the Goldie, it has cleared up a little bit. It's now it's saying 5 to 10 mils. It was 0 to 20 yesterday, which is a horrible estimate because how's anyone meant to know what the hell to plan there? But yeah, so hopefully that keeps drying up. We'll see. I can't put too much stock in it on Tuesday at, Tuesday at 5 p.m. So
Jacob Arlick is named on the edge for the Titans, and for the Penrith Panthers, they remain relatively unchanged. Still no Scotty Sorensen, not even on the extended, but the big one here, Nathan Cleary, Dylan Edwards. I think everybody is looking towards these two for the matchup. Cleary kicked goals last week, but he is a hot topic of us. So if you have anything else?
No.
The Dragons take on the Raiders, 5:30 at the Dragons' home ground, which is in Wollongong? Wynn Stadium, yes. Clint Gutson at fullback, Corey Allen back on the wing. King Tonga remains at number 6 despite a horrible defensive effort last week. Michael Milo on the edge. And for the Canberra Raiders, Jed Stewart remains on the wing. Still no sign of Tamale. Hopefully he's not far away. Yep. And not much else here. Zach Hosking still on the edge and still no Matty Nicholson.
Yeah, so Nicholson will play New South Wales Cup in the bye round, which they have the bye in 24.
Yep.
So Nicholson expected back around the squad in 25. And Tamale expected back in 25 as well, but I don't think he's going to play Cup in 24. I think he'll just come straight back in. So that means Hosking this week, next week. The difference this week is Sasangi's back to the bench. 2 weeks ago, Zach Hosking came off in the 60th minute, which would have been his day done, you would think, only for Xavier Savage to have a HIA with 10 to go. So he went back on.
An extra 10 minutes
for an extra 10
that week.
That was the week, yeah, that was the week he went big. But just in general, I'd be expecting him maybe in that 55 to 60 range again, or 55 to 65 range this week for Hosking for Onus.
I haven't owned him all year, but he doesn't seem appealing to me as a play.
I certainly wouldn't be like bringing him in, or you mean as a someone to play this week?
Yeah,
I think it depends on what your other minutes options are this week. You know, people might have with Karapani missing, people may have guys like Tapane who's struggling a little bit. Like there's probably some teams that he'll be a play for. And the other thing to consider is in your backline is how many guys do you want to play if it's quite wet. So keeping an eye on the radar. Most of your guns, you play them rain, hail, or shine, but there's probably some fringe guys that if it's a bit wet, you might look to a forward rather than a back this week only.
Manly Sea Eagles take on the Roosters at 4 Pines Park on Saturday night. Lehigh remains a fullback and Tom's still in the centres. I really want to see a change here, eh?
Yeah, I can understand why. Lehigh's passing was off on the weekend. Yeah, it was probably the worst I've seen him play.
I'm pretty sure, like we did a clip, it was either 2 or 4 weeks ago, and pretty much said, no, it was 4 weeks ago, because I said Tom needs to play fullback. They went on and won 3 weeks in a row, which is all good and fine, but I think it just proved on the weekend that he is, against the better matchups, they'll struggle. His timing is off, his passing is off, and Tommy's best asset is his passing.
Yep.
He's got so many good assets, but passing is one of his best assets. And defensively, like just in centres, he was kind of seeked out a little bit.
Yeah, I think I think he's been getting found out. The only thing I'll say is, if is it the best? Like, you can hide him, like in that trick hidden play of him sweeping. I think they can hide him a little bit better, and it really has like made their attack a lot harder to defend.
I think so too.
A little tangent here, but I don't understand. Not saying I don't blame the defenders, because centers already have a nightmare, let alone an extra guy coming across. But I don't understand why more attacking coaches don't run sweep plays from guys on the other side of the field. Even something as simple as right on halftime, just before halftime, because we saw what happened on halftime in the Raiders game. The old Fogarty intercept that he threw. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so right on half, like literally they tried to run a sort of trick play at the end of the half and threw an intercept to Fletcher Hunt to score under the post.
No.
But right before that, Hudson Young, so Fogarty tackled on the right side of the field, just inside the numbers. Ethan Strange, last tackle on the open side to kick to the left corner. Hudson Young ran from outside of Strange to the other side of the ruck to overcall his young half. I'm getting goosebumps. I love this sort of footy stuff. And Starling played short to Hudson Young, the Raiders scored. So, like, even something as simple as one of your forwards changing sides and just adding an extra number.
It just kind of gets them thinking, like, what the hell's going on here?
They don't. I mean, you line up. You've played enough footy, right? When you line up to your number on as you come back to get to the 10, you don't anticipate a guy coming from the other side of the ruck. And as soon as you do, you're in two minds straight away as a defender. So I'd like to see more of it. The only thing I would say about him not playing fullback, and look, they could easily then run that with Lehigh chipping in on the other side, but they are killing teams with that at the moment. On the weekend, Tommy went straight through again. It didn't quite work. Admittedly, they're against Crichton and probably the best. I would say he's the best defensive centre in the game. I think that's pretty common knowledge. And he did a great job of shutting down Manly's left edge, which has been really dangerous for a month now. So I wouldn't use that game as the yardstick for where they're at. But if it happens again this week, I would be, I'd be quick smart swapping Tommy and Lehigh back into the back out to his wing. Yeah,
100%. I think just the downside here is Ruben Garrick on the wing. I'd like to see him there. I think we saw his defensive effort last week on, who was it last week, where he ran all the way across the field in Melbourne.
Yeah, down one wing and then all the way to the opposite corner.
Melbourne, Xavier Coates scored in the corner.
He actually had a similar effort again in the Bulldogs game where he came from all the way across the other side to run someone down.
Yeah, and playing on the wing, you allow him to kind of be that person who's the last person making effort, and that's who you want on the wing. Maybe you give Saab another chance on the wing and Hopper go, because Hopper can't play centre. Yeah,
well, that's exactly right. But that's why they kind of like the structure they've got right now. Look, I think Lehigh's actually a pretty good fullback. I think he's obviously not Tommy though. That's plain and simple. But he does a lot of other things that Tommy's body doesn't seem to be able to hold up with at the moment. So it's pick your poison. Manly's ceiling is better with Tommy at fullback. But at the moment, if they're doing enough to win games and make the 8, maybe they can just keep some K's in Tommy's legs ready for that round.
Maybe it's as simple as Lehigh, don't pass.
Well, he was. Look, I think it was just a really off game for him. I know his playmaking is already not great, but that was a shocker.
The Bulldogs also put a lot of pressure on attacking.
A good defensive side.
They're very good at defense.
Yep.
Olakwatu's out for the season, came back early. It is what it is, I guess. For the Roosters, Billy Smith returns. Savala returns at 5'8", which means right and left. I like the Daniel Tupou play this week as well. I'm happy to play him in my side. And Jesus Christ, if he held the ball, I would have hit 1,400.
I got shot by that, and the week before, I mean, more people did the week before, but that when Lomax just absolutely bombed a sitter as well. They were both tries that those two guys score in their sleep. Like, it hurts when it's your guy. Yeah. A lot funnier when it's not.
Yeah, exactly. Nwanganitawase, number 5 on the wing. Don't mind this matchup either, running at Ruben Garrick. Like, defensively, he's been pretty, both edges have been pretty bad for Manly. So, I mean, I'd probably give him another chance if you still own him this week.
Yeah, Savala back is probably the other big thing for him as well. So I think that's fair.
And a few changes to the forward pack. Egan Butcher in at lock and Sil Wong on the edge. The Lockie Galvin Cup, Sunday, 2 o'clock. Dream Buller returns at fullback. Taruva on the wing and Skelton on the other wing. Latu Whanu, despite being hooked, is named again. Dewey at lock. And for the Bulldogs, Jacob Kiraz named at fullback, which is interesting for his Supercoach prospect. I tried to look at his numbers at fullback. Very hard to find.
Yeah, I think as far as those of us that have had a bit of a dig in it, and we did this in the Gibbers chat, so we can only see that he played one game there last year. I think it was around 17, and he got 50-odd in 80 minutes. So I'm thinking about it without worrying about what he's actually done when he's been there. Is he going to get more runs? Not really, because he can't really get any more runs than he already has. Like, he's already given unlimited license. He's already allowed to offload as much as he wants. Sure, maybe he jags a bit more sort of playmaking, but he's not really a playmaker, and he loses the opportunity to play outside Crichton, who just puts him away once a game, twice a game, no dramas. I don't think it changes much at all, really, to be honest.
I actually think it's quite detrimental.
That's what I would say. I would lean that way.
For him and the Bulldogs, to be honest, because I think Tracy's so good at the way Tracy kind of plays and runs out the back of shape. Because he's a little zippy kind of guy, he always purposely just is that little bit later on the play. Like, he times his run so he is late in the play, so it's timed perfectly. And because he's got the speed to do so, he's at the right spot at the right time. Whereas because Kraz is a bit slower and not used to the position, I think it's going to become more predictable. Whereas Tracy, the amount of times Tracy on the short side just becomes an extra number just like that is crazy. And like, he's very good at that sweeping play, whereas I don't see Kraz kind of getting himself into that position as often.
Me either.
Obviously, he's going to train for it this weekend. They'll be well aware.
He's done like we all know that he's done some work at it, and he did have ambitions to be a fullback at one point. But I think he's just come to the conclusion, maybe a bit like Zach Lomax, that he's a really good winger. And there's like these days.
I've done that twice now.
These days, if you didn't want me on camera, mate, you could have just told me. These days, like, the wing has turned into a bit more of a sexy position. Like, once upon a time, it was catch the ball, put it down. No one cared. Like, yeah, you scored a try, well done, mate. And wingers weren't even allowed to hang out with the group. So I think it's a workhorse position, and it suits guys like Kiraz who he's not the quickest guy in the world, but he gets through a lot of work. Positive for them is it means they keep their two centres and they allow Burton and Galvin to stay in the halves and get some reps together. So I can see why they're doing it. It's to avoid changing their attacking and defensive structures. So I respect it, but I do think it's going to impact them in the short term. Yeah.
I was slightly worried that they would put Crichton or potentially Burton there.
I thought Burton even more than Crichton. I honestly don't think they can move. Like, I don't think they'd be silly enough to move Crichton because of what he does on both ends. He's that good. But yeah, I could see them doing Burton. It's just smart of them to make sure they give more time to Burton and Galvin together.
100%. The Sharks played Cowboys at Shark Park at 4:00 on Sunday. Weather check?
It's meant to be wet again. Yep. Sydney. It is. No, it is. I already looked.
It's at Shark Park. As always, Sharks are unchanged except Britton Nickera returns, which is good for my side. Robert Derby is on the wing for the Cowboys. Jake Clifford returns, which is good. Don't know what I see. I see a big bounce back from the Sharks this week, to be honest. They got the win last week. Cowboys got the win as well, but the Cowboys were lucky to get away with it,
they can't
to be
defend.
honest.
They can't defend. So
they can't defend.
But admittedly, like any side that is when they've got their better combinations, so when they've got Clifford and Dearden and Drinkwater all in the same side together, I think their pressure of being a better attacking side puts a bit of pressure on the Sharks. And I'll tell you what, if the Sharks, I could see them getting rolled again, to be honest. Yeah. If they play the style that they played last week, forget the result. If they play the style they played last week, Cowboys will put some points on it. Might be a high-scoring game, but I can see the Cowboys rolling them.
I agree. The thing I want to point out here, because I don't think we'll come back to it, Robert Derby, defensively on his edge, he's been awful with his reads, and that edge always seems to get torn apart. He's on the right wing, and Ronnie Mulatalo is running at that wing. Timmy bought him last week for Nwanga Nitawase to fund another trade, which was a very good trade, by the way. I think it was like someone to was it Pappy to Edwards, maybe, I think. And I thought it was a really good move, and I think Ronnie Mulatalo is a very good play this week. He went down to like 400k.
Yeah, those moves. I mean, those are the guys you got to look for at the moment, right?
Yeah.
Like, last week I was talking to a few people about Jermaine McEwen and people like instead of downgrading all the way to enough, because of the way the season's going and the injuries and, add in Karapani and Hughes, and there's heaps of high percentage guys each week going, or high percentage owned guys going down. Why not? Why not go for someone at 350, 400K who they might not be world beaters, but if you need to plug them in for a week and you can still pull 200K out from downgrading, I wouldn't be nuffing at this stage of the year unless you've got heaps of trades left. It's just not the year of the nuff, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100% agree. Ronnie Mulatalo in the next 3 weeks and the Sharks, Cowboys, Dragons and the Titans in the next 3. As you've said in the past, Dragons' weak edge is the left edge that Ronnie's running at. Cowboys is their weak edge. The Titans, it always changes. I
think all 3 of those teams, you can, at this stage of the season, you can pretty much bank on both edges being pretty weak as well. They're starting to capitulate, and the Dragons in particular are really battling now.
So I love Ronnie Mulatalo as a player. I actually think the worst thing about Ronnie Mulatalo is Braden Trindle on that edge, because I feel like since Matt Moylan has left the club, he's kind of gone from that elite centre winger to, maybe he gets a score for you sometimes. So Trindle is just poison to that side. Jesus Christ. Yep. We love Trindle on this podcast.
You and I in particular have a real affinity for him, don't we?
You know what? I actually think he would do really well at somewhere like, let's say Chanel Harris-Tavita is playing at the Warriors. I think he'd be a good 7 there.
Oh, yeah. I think he'd be probably would have been a good 7 at St. George this year. I think he'd do a really good job there.
Jesus Christ.
It's nothing. It's just the combination. Yeah. I think he's I think as a lead half, he's actually showed every time he's had that opportunity, he's played great footy.
But you can't take Niko out of that side.
Well, that's their call to make, but you would think so. So, one of them needs to lead that team. But God, how many times have we said that over the year? So,
100%. All right, let's move on to the hot topics of the week. Brought to you by Kyle McGrath Accounting. Head over to kylemcgrathaccounting.com.au to get your tax returns done. We had him on the podcast on Sunday, doing well at SuperCoach. Seems like he's given up on his season, even though he went from 300th to, I think it was like 500th or something. He has 8 trades left, and he's like, I think I'm done for the season. I'm like, what? Jesus Christ.
He's in a better spot than 99.5% of people, 99.9% of people, with 8 trades left, which is probably better than 90% of people.
100%.
What a great spot to be in.
Yeah, so he's doing very well in SuperCoach, and as you heard on the podcast, if you listened on Sunday, all his clients just speak to him about SuperCoach. Yes, he's a SuperCoacher, and everyone needs their tax done. So head over to him, give him a call. The link will be in the description. And as he said on the weekend, he's happy for calls, texts, however you want to message him, your form of content, he'll be there for you to deal with any tax return needs. So hot topics, Nathan Cleary, the number 1 traded in player this week. I think this coincides obviously with Jerome Hughes. It's a headache that a lot of us super coaches, we're going to have to deal with for the run home. Which halfback do we choose? It's kind of solved itself. I just want to ask, I'm not going to ask if Nathan Cleary is a must, because I feel like that's just he is, right?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
They've got a pretty tough run after this week.
That's what it is, right? And that's the discussion that I was talking about before. You mentioned Adam Reynolds. The Broncos have a great run from here. Isaiah Katoa, they have a much better run from here. I was looking at Wishart, but probably just fraction too many question marks. Obviously, he went on that run where he averaged high 70s for 2 months or 3 months last year when he was taking over from Cam Munster. Admittedly, that was on the left edge, so maybe it doesn't work as well, but I can't imagine that Wishart with Katoa outside him is going to do any less damage. But I just looked at Nath's numbers this year. He hasn't played that many teams of the better defensive sides, but when he has, he's averaging in the 80s anyway. So I don't think you can go wrong with him. It might be a bit boring, but there are, for those that are pod hunting and maybe looking at head-to-head finals, because the head-to-head finals draw, as you mentioned, for Penrith is not great. So,
well, he starts with Newcastle, who he likes playing Newcastle.
He does, and historically, they're a different side to who they are this year. Newcastle have been a lot of things this year, but you've got to give them credit. They've been a pretty good defensive side.
Yeah,
and that's at Newcastle, where they've been an even better defensive side this year. Then they play Melbourne, who have a few things going on, but again, are still a top 4 defensive side. And then Canberra and the Bulldogs in the head-to-head semi and grand final weeks. So he's probably going to somehow average 80 odd or something through there. But is he going to get you one of those 150 scores that one of the other guys may jag? And I don't know if he is, because you only need to look at it as a 3-4 week play. The problem is he plays Gold Coast this week, and it's hard to want to miss them. So yeah, I think it's really. I think there is merit going away from him. I do think he's probably a must. It's probably the smart call. That's what most people are going to do. But there's some other better draws in head-to-head finals. It's just a question of whether a better draw means you're going to score more points, or it's just a good draw.
Yeah, I don't see myself, like, if I was in any sort of situation going without Cleary. Yep. Like, death riding him is just so stressful and makes SuperCoach not fun.
Yep.
I think it's the other halfback that you can target if you really want to be different. Like, there is an Adam Reynolds playing the Rabbitohs Storm Dolphins in the next 3 weeks. They do play the Storm twice, and potentially the Storm rest in the last round, but who knows how they're going. They're not guaranteed to be where they are. There's, Isaiah Katoa, who's got a decent draw. He's got a couple of good matchups. Tom Dearden's one of the most traded in players this week. They've got a very good draw, but they also play the Sharks this week, which I find a very awkward matchup at Shark Park.
Yeah, I think they've got a good draw, but I think there's some probably hidden sort of dangers in there. Firstly, the Cowboys have the round 27 bye, so that doesn't matter for head-to-head finals.
For head-to-head, it's actually quite perfect because they play the Sharks this week. If you need to win this week to get into head-to-head finals, then Tom Dearden's probably not your guy. But if you can hold off that trade till next week and you are kind of in a position to take a loss this week, then I'll maybe not make the trade next week, but make it this week. But you set yourself up for a very good head-to-head finals run if you get Tom Dearden into your side, because the first week you've got the Cowboys. They'll play the Parramatta Eels into the Knights in round 24, and then maybe you've got a week off, and in the prelim finals, you'll after the Knights, you'll go the Tigers in round 25. Then they play the Broncos in the head-to-head finals, which the Broncos aren't perfect.
Nah, and you know that he's obviously a Queensland boy. He'll get up for those sort of games. So yeah, I don't mind it. I haven't gone that way myself, and that was only because I looked at his numbers over the last sort of little bit. I have looked at his numbers with Clifford this year as well, and they are a little bit better than his normal numbers. But I mean, he got 165 on the weekend, and he's got a 5-round average of 77. So it's just there's a lot of 60s. There's a lot of he's gone sort of 60, 66, 20, since Origin 1, he got a 114 backing up for Origin 1, and then went 66, 23, 63, 62, 73, 165. So he's got big scores in him, but I've said this multiple times this year, you have to temper expectations from teams that play against the Dragons at the moment. And we've been close in a lot of the, like we lost by 6 points to them. We lost by 4 to the Raiders not long ago. KO's got 150 or 160 or 70 or whatever it was that week. Like, I looked back at the stats. There have been multiple hundreds against the Dragons in nearly every week. There was one week where there were multiple 90s, but there's been literally multiple hundreds and scores over 120 in every week for the last 5 or 6 Dragons games. They're a team to target, but it also means that buyer beware the week after.
Interesting. Who do they play?
The Sharks next week.
The Canberra Raiders this week.
Yeah, again, and then they play the Sharks next week.
Yeah, so I guess that brings me to Niko. Like, Niko seemed like he was back. If you don't have Niko on your side, what are you looking at there? Like, are you thinking he's a must-have? Because he does come up to the Cowboys at Shark Park, looking at a bounce back. Then they have the Dragons and the Titans. Niko, I mean, despite the Trindle chat, like, Niko still scares me.
Yeah, he probably should, but I wouldn't be, if I didn't own him, I wouldn't be buying him. And at this point, that comes purely from the fact that they have a buy in 25 and then Newcastle and the Dogs to finish the year. So I think their next 3 weeks, if you need someone, like, again, if you're a head-to-head player or you're someone who has a few extra trades, if you need to win games now and win early in the head-to-head finals, shoot your shot. I think he could probably be the best scorer over the next 3 weeks in that position. But over the next 6 weeks, over the rest of the season, I don't think he's even close to worth being a buy. Not compared to guys like, as I say, Katoa and those sorts of guys.
Yeah. What if you have 2 trades left?
My advice to anyone with low trades at the moment is have a look at your side this week. If you like the 18 guys you got playing, save your trades for next week and do the same thing again, because the longer you can push a little bit, we're reasonable. If you see a spot where you think someone's got the bet, like, I get that Niko has a great 3-week draw right now, but you might be able to catch that up 3 weeks at some future point when more teams have fallen over and the draw gets even more open. The other thing is knowing who to trade out at the moment.
The last 3 weeks is definitely by far the biggest 3 weeks to target. There's the massive scores. I think we always refer back to Manly a couple of years ago. DCE, Olakau'atu.
3 of them over 150 or something? Yeah.
The last 3 weeks, they went 150 plus every week.
So I've had a look at the stats, and in the last 3 weeks of both of the last 2 seasons, there's been 5 plus 150 scores. So that's your time to really, if you can save any trades at all, the last 3 weeks of the season is where you'll get those, like Dylan Edwards' score from last week, which was a round changer.
5 plus?
Not in each week, no. 5 over the 3 week period.
5 over the 3 weeks, whereas
that's a lot.
We're kind of averaging 1 a week at the moment, but they're not.
No, if you have a look at 150 scores, well,
we're averaging 1 week the last 2 weeks, but before that, I feel like there wasn't.
They're few and far between. Like last year, there was only, so when I said last year, there was 6 scores of 150 plus in the last 3 weeks last year. There was only 11 for the season. So in the other 24 weeks or whatever, there was 5.
Yeah.
So it is really a time to target. But the other thing is, Savs, the other reason that I say that, the advantage of pushing your trades back a week at a time is that you may change who you sell. It's not just who you buy, it's also who you sell. Because at the moment, you may be looking at your side thinking, I can get rid of this guy that's fit and playing at the moment because I see a new shiny toy and it's a better option. But next week, you might be able to bring that same new shiny toy in, but for someone who's gotten injured for the season, and that's a better trade. That's it. At this stage of the year, for me, it's almost as important who you sell as who you bring in. Who you bring in is going to get you more points in a short period, but who you sell might cost you points at the back end when you need that healthy body for the last 2 weeks to get you. They might only get you 80 points, but 80 points is a lot.
Yep. So I've looked at the 150 plus scores. There's only been 11 this year. So
that's actually quite a big season, to be honest.
It is big, but it feels like in 2021, after that season happened, that these 150 plus scores were going to come pretty much every second week, or much more often. Whereas I feel like the 150 plus scores have been so few and far between this year. Recently, we've obviously got Dylan Edwards, who scored 173. That's the third highest of the year. The highest was obviously Ryan Pappenhausen's 182. We just had Tom Dearden's 165 on the weekend. But the last one before that was KO Weeks' 156. And before that, it was Nick Meaney, 165, actually not that long ago. So we're obviously
starting to open up.
Yeah, we're starting to open up here. And I think by the end of the season, if there is 5, then pretty much from round 1 to 20, there is going to be pretty much nearly tripled the amount of output in the last 3 weeks.
I know what you're saying, but on a per weekly basis, that's how it is. So look, you're not going to catch all of them either. Like it happens. Sometimes, not many people had Tom Dearden on the weekend. Some of them are a bit more random explosions, but you just have to be aware that if you're using all your trades now, there's no harm in it. It's not end of the world type stuff, but I know full well from experience that if you're the type of person who wants to sort of win some head-to-head finals and maybe potentially jump some ranks at the back end of the season, you'll be able to do that because there are people who will have gone hell for leather to get the best possible side this as early as possible, so that they kind of go, well, I've got my depth to then cover me for the rest of the season. But things happen, things change quickly, people get dropped. Every week at the moment, most teams are losing a high-owned player.
Yeah.
So you just need to be aware that it's not about missing a guy. It's about, I think I can make up this great matchup in 2 or 3 weeks' time. And if you catch someone who averages 120 over the last 3 weeks, well, not many, you're going to be ahead of a lot of people if that happens. So that's sort of where I stand on it. Yeah.
Payne Haas, one of the more traded in players this week. I feel like I've been saying it leading up to this that I'm just not liking how he ends seasons, and it felt like it was coming He doesn't really end the season well. Like he tends to miss a lot of games at the back end, and it feels like it's coming to that. If you didn't have him in your side yet, what would you be doing?
Well, it would depend on trades, because at the moment, if I had two really solid or even strong front rowers, everyone's going to have Terrell May, but add in whoever your second guy is. At the moment, I don't see Haas sort of averaging 30 more than the next front rower like he was at the start of the season. It might only be 10 or 15. And that, as we just mentioned, you look at that, extrapolate that over. Let's say he does play every game. If he averages 15 more than the next guy, well, that's 100 sort of points. So between now and the end of the year, you can get that in 1 week from a centre wing. If you get to the back end of the season and you kind of go, oh no, I'm down to three centre wings. I'm really glad I didn't use that front rower trade, because now I can get, KO Weeks or whoever, someone exciting, or he's not a centre wing, but someone exciting who could go 120, and I don't think Payne Haas is a must right now. Last week I did think he was. I think he was a bit unlucky last week. But it also wasn't luck. The way that Ben Hunt plays and uses his middles is different to how Pakes has used him throughout the year. And I noticed it in his first stint that Haas didn't get anywhere near as many carries as he normally does. And then Billy Walters tried to run the air out of the ball at the back end of the game. So I'm not going to base it off that, because usually Walters does use him at the back end of the game. But Ben Hunt used him very differently to Pakes. He didn't just pick the ball up off the ground and give him the ball. Hunt obviously likes to look around and scheme a little bit. So
I fucking hate hookers that do that.
I know.
Especially when they're not Harry Grant.
Yep, I know. So, my thought at the moment is Haas is not a must. But that's also because of the position. I want guys at this stage of the year who are going to get those. I want to chase those big scores now.
And the thing is, Haas at the start of the year was doing what you kind of want your players you're getting in to do.
And look, he did get that 108 in base power like after Origin too, but even that now is 6 weeks ago, and his back hasn't seemed to get any better, and there's just too many question marks over calling him a must at the moment.
Yep. Sid versus starts is a massive topic leading into the weekend. I think we're all pretty much at full strength nearly. The Dolphins are back with not a major bye happening this week. Who has a bye this week?
The Knights. So people will be affected by Gagai owners will be affected, and he's been
a good pod. He's
been outstanding. Back kicking too.
Yeah, exactly. Huge. So I have a question from Mikey.
Yep.
He wants to know the numbers based, because Sivo starts are very crucial at this time of year. Eli Katoa, without Jerome Hughes in the last 2 years, his average is 83.5, despite his average being in the mid-70s at the moment. He actually averages quite well over the last 2 years. I didn't take a sample from years before that, because I really think what we can expect from Eli Katoa is what he's produced in the last 2 years. And before that, getting to know the Melbourne system. So I'm pretty happy to let the years before go. But even with those numbers, it's 77.
Yep.
So Jerome Hughes not being inside is actually not that much of a deterrent for Eli Katoa.
No. What is a deterrent for me? The only negative I've got for him at the moment is his base power has been down the last couple of weeks, but that's literally the last fortnight. I don't know if he's been carrying an injury, a knock, something like that, but he hasn't had I had a look and I've got it up here. He's had 2 tackle busts in the last 2 weeks total. He's averaging like 4 a game for the year before that. He's put the offload away, zero offloads in the last 2 weeks. I don't know if he's carrying something. I don't know if there's something more to it. I don't think Bellamy lets anyone get away with being disinterested, so I won't say it's anything like that. And he's in the leadership group there, so I would, I'd be playing him though for sure. He doesn't get a sit in my side, no chance.
Yeah, 100% agree. Dare I say that the last few weeks that Melbourne have played, Manly kind of shocked them with their performance.
Yep.
So you can write that off, and then also on the weekend, the circumstances with Jerome Hughes, things kind of changed. So I'll give him a pass for the last 2 weeks, and just based on what's available at second row and the trades that are limited, you're probably just leaving him there and not even thinking about it. The Titans, they concede to fullbacks in the last 3 weeks, 62, and to halfbacks, 63. So I think that's a lot high. So I'm looking at SIP versus starts. I was just looking at everyone in my side. Dylan Edwards and Nathan Cleary were the ones I wanted to look at here. it's actually not like this is probably in the captain's debate that we're going to look at. It's actually not as juicy as I would have thought.
Yeah, no, that's true, but they also haven't played anyone named Nathan Cleary or Dylan Edwards in the last 3 weeks. So
exactly.
You're
and
right.
That being said, you're not leaving them out of your side.
No, definitely not. But it's a good call for captains. It's something to consider. The other thing to consider this weekend with captains is weather and how risk averse you want to be. But the problem at the moment is there's not really any forwards that are just like churning out those 85, 90s that they were early in the year. Both May and Haas were sort of banging out consistent mid-80s, and that's really the captaincy floor that I want to chase. Like if I'm picking a forward, I want them to go 80 plus. I don't kind of want, like May's chucked out a lot of 70s lately, which isn't a bad score, but this time of year I don't really want to go, okay, if it goes bad I can get 70. I'd rather go, if it goes bad I can get 45 or 50 and hope that I can get a 120 or 130.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that fussed about getting a little bit less like Hines on the weekend if I know that his ceiling was probably double that or triple that. So,
Jaden Campbell, so playing the Penrith Panthers, and the Penrith Panthers in the last 3 weeks. So since round 9, they're pretty much undefeated. They had the draw with the Cowboys, and they'd be pretty much leading the comp if it was since round 9. In the last 3 weeks, the Panthers concede 29.33 to halfbacks.
Yep.
So Jaden Campbell is an easy sit for me. I think I look at the Panthers and I think their early season form means they can be vulnerable sometimes. And I think I've been kind of okay to play my players against the Panthers. But just looking at the stats in the last couple of weeks, this is where you kind of got to adapt on the fly and realize the Panthers' defense is back.
Yep.
And yeah, Jaden Campbell is a player who relies on defense that doesn't scramble that well and doesn't defend well. So, yeah, Jaden Campbell is someone who I am leaving out of my side this week.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think that if that's what the stats say, if it's a bit wet, if it's meant to be wet up there, and just Penrith are just they're at the stage of the year where they've already they're starting to like sort of just taper a little bit, ready for finals, and they just back off the pedal a bit right now. But they're actually in the position where they are chasing every point, every for and against, because they want a top 4 finish. They don't want to play elimination from game 1 of the finals, nor should they want to play that. So it's actually one of the few times at the back end of the year where I'm actually excited to own more Panthers, and they've got the tough draw. But yeah, this week I don't envy the Titans having to play them in the form they're in a day game. It's pretty tough. So yeah,
Bo Fermor, sit or start?
I think this could be a week where you ideally aim to sit him just because he probably lacks upside.
Yep.
But if things sort of don't go to plan and the weather looks pretty poor, I reckon he's going to get you 55 or 60 anyway. So he could be a good play.
Ruben Garrick up against the right edge of the Roosters. Nwanga. Yep. Easy play?
Easy play for me because I would like to think that Manly have, they tried to do something a bit different with the way they attacked the Bulldogs, respecting Crichton. Tommy still found a way through the line. I think they go back to running that 4 or 5 times and, the hidden sweep, and I think Garrick's going to get a lot of ball in that left wing, a lot more than he got last week.
Scott Drinkwater versus the Sharks at Shark Park.
Yeah, easy play for me.
Yep.
I know the Sharks have had a good year against fullbacks. Drinkwater's just got a unique style that's a bit different. Like, Sharks are really good at locking down the sweeping fullback. Drinkwater plays that combo halfback 5'8" 1. He plays all those positions. Sometimes he's out the back. Sometimes he's real close to the ruck. Sometimes he's scheming in tight. Sometimes he's kicking. He just has so many avenues to points that he's basically he's almost what Niko was in his Dally M year, where he just accumulates. And with Clifford back in the side, I think it helps.
Zach Lomax versus the Melbourne strong side in defence of Jack Howarth and Xavier Coates.
Yeah, I'm just going to play Lomax. There's also, I think he's kind of on the fence of where you could. I think you'd have to have a really strong side not to play him. It's nice to have Moses back. Teams do still find ways to score against good defenses.
Doesn't mean it's impossible.
No, absolutely. So his last 4 games, base power, 61, 60, 55 and 49. So that's probably his absolute floor. And in those, he's also kicked 24, 32 points in goals. So what's that? 8 points a week. So then his floor becomes mid-50s. I can't sit him in my side.
Yep.
You'd have to show me probably a side that I think was going to top the week to sit him this week, but there's a world.
Yep. And last one, Jermaine Asako versus the Warriors.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a really tough one.
Because it is their weaker edge.
Yep. And it is a potential bounce back week for them, but Nikorima back. I couldn't sit any of my, I couldn't sit a Dolphin right now if I owned them. They're just so fun to own and watch. And I don't know what the record for most points. I think Parramatta got the record for most points in a season. I
2001, yeah.
I wonder how many times they scored 40 plus in the season, because I reckon the Dolphins started very slow, so they probably won't get there. But I'd just be interested to see how close they get from here out, because I think they could put 40 on any team outside of probably the Bulldogs at full, if they're full strength for the rest of the season.
Okay, moving on to, we don't have much left. Just there are a couple of players that are on top traded in that I want to talk about. Harry Grant is the main one.
Yep.
So he's the second most traded in player this week. They do have a good matchup this week in the Parramatta Eels, which I think he can score very well against. If you're doing a hooker trade to him, or potentially moving a Connor Watson up to second row, what are your thoughts on that trade? Obviously, if you haven't made the hooker decision yet, I'm all for it. But I think if you already have a hooker, it's maybe not necessary.
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't be chasing unless, as you said, unless you've haven't made the move yet. I wouldn't touch hooker this week. And it's as simple as, Blake Brayley's been the flavour of the month, and he's played really well, and he didn't have to do much work on the weekend, so his floor was a bit low. But I think I think him and Harry Grant are the two standouts. Grant might get a rest at some point. I've got shout out Maxi Bryden. He's chucked a stat up today. Harry Grant games without Hughes in the last 3 years. With Hughes, averaged 70.4. Without Hughes, averaged 68. So it's not like he has to suddenly take over.
It's not like because Hughes is out, he's a must.
Mid-game, last week, mid-game, he kind of took over the game.
And he had to because there's no Munster either.
So good. And he sometimes has games like that at Origin level. He can just take over a game.
Yep.
But this, I think with Munster and Wishart or Pezzett, whichever way they go, I think he'll go back to sort of where he's been. He might go on a run to end the year. It wouldn't shock me.
We nearly scored a try last week.
Yeah, he should have scored. He did score the try.
Also, Origin 3 scored a try, turned up.
No, he's playing great footy at the moment at the right time of year. So I wouldn't be if I was going to a hooker this week, to answer your question, yes, it would be Harry just.
Well, he was still a pod. Connor Watson was the most owned hooker. And not many people traded him in the week everyone was going Connor Watson. So I think he's still a decent option. All right, let's move on to our Pickle of the Week, brought to you by picklebet.com.au. Use the code TURBO to sign up through their code there. I want to kick it off with my bet of the week, which is, I've got to log in right here. But it's a double hooker matchup. I thought
you said you had it up and running, mate, ready to go.
I had it, and I just had to log in to do it. But my bet of the week is, which hooker matchup do you think?
Far out. Well, you love Reece Robson, so is it the Cows Sharks?
No, because I'm not super confident that Brayley can get over.
Right, okay.
I think he scored a lot more.
That's fair.
And I don't like to hedge my bets on players that score more than they have.
I don't have anything for you. What do you got?
I am going the Dogs versus West Tigers matchup.
Wow.
Appy Coruscant and Reed Marnie.
Wow.
I think Reed Marnie he hasn't scored much this season, but with Connor Tracy out of the side, they'll be looking at a few more ways to attack, and the West Tigers middle is a bit slower late in the games. And I like the Appy Coruscant matchup just because he is Coruscant.
Yeah, no, I like that.
$26 via Pickle Bet.
Here's my bet of the week.
Yeah.
Right? I like Jacob Little and Owen Paddy to both score off the bench.
Oh.
Yeah, you like that?
I do like that.
Yeah, so I think if the Dragons concede points early, I think this is a good week for Paddy to get on the field early. They did last time they played us. He got a few more minutes than normal.
Yeah.
And Jacob Little is a gun. He's obviously by far the best bench hooker in the comp, and he probably should be starting.
And Owen Paddy's probably the second best.
Yeah, well, I mean, he certainly will be very quickly. He is unreal. The performance he had not last week because he didn't get many minutes, but the week before where he scored 2 tries in 15 minutes or whatever it was.
He scored 2 tries on the weekend, didn't he?
This weekend?
Yeah, the weekend just gone.
Wasn't that the weekend before?
He scored 101 on the weekend?
I think that was the weekend before, wasn't it?
I don't know. He scored 101 on the weekend, though.
I might be a week in the future, mate.
Jacob Little is $6 and Owen Paddy is $6.75, so you get $34 for it.
There you go.
I don't mind it. I would have liked more.
That shows you how many tries how good they are.
Yeah, how good they are. I like it. So,
Owen Paddy got 6 on the weekend, mate.
Oh, sorry. I'm talking about Jacob Little.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, he
scored a double.
No, I was talking about Paddy the week before.
Paddy. Yeah.
Little's been playing like 50. Like, he's been playing more minutes. But, Owen Paddy literally came on for 15 minutes and just broke the game open.
All right, pickle of the week.
I am tossing. Look, I want to go. I'm going to go Nathan Cleary because I know what I'm like. But I just kind of want to own Isaiah Katoa. Like, I just think he's that fun to watch, and the Dolphins have a really good run. They've got no bye. Their draw's better. And I just want to watch him and not only watch him and marvel at his actual footy ability, but also just watch him put 4 try assists on in 35 minutes or something like that. But yeah, it's a pickle of the week because I think that he might be one of those guys who could go like 140 in the last 2 rounds. And if I get him now, rather than going Nath and then trying to jump to him maybe later on, I just feel like it saves me a trade. But I think Nath will outscore him over the next 3 or 4 weeks first. So that's my pickle. Yeah,
my pickle is just choosing 3 or 4 players to bench. To be honest, I've currently got the reserve on Azarko and Lehigh. I'll probably take it off Lehigh and go. I've got Ramian who I can play. I think Ramian against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think so.
He's up against Purdue, which defensively he was average last week.
Yeah, he's been hot and cold. He's a young guy learning his craft.
I like that Niko is back. I might play McInnes for Fermor, but that leaves me playing pretty much 4 Sharks players, which I don't love.
I think it's your team, so you decide. But I think I'd play all the other Sharks, but I'd play Fermor over McInnes.
Yeah,
just because
I don't like playing McInnes against easier matchups.
Yeah, well, that number 1 is that, but number 2 is if Fermor and him both have about the same base power sort of range, like where they normally score. Fermor plays 20 extra minutes and he's a bit more, like he will get more attack in general. So you're banking on him, the percentages might be small, but I'd say
fair, he could make 1,000 tackles.
Well, that's exactly right. But also Penrith could easily, what they sometimes do, and they've been guilty of this more over the last couple of years because they've been so good. At the end of games, they concede, like where they just get lazy. And he's the type of guy who will play the whole 80, 100% effort, back up something like a Jaden Campbell line break and score a try.
No Jaden Campbell line break because he's definitely...
No, Jaden, that would be the line break that takes him to 27.
Yeah. All right. Trades this week. So you're obviously going Kadal?
Yeah, well, I got Hughes to get rid of, and I'll decide. Look, as I said, unfortunately, the way I play, I'm pretty sure I'll go Nath. And, but yeah, I'll decide that throughout the week. Just one.
Well, I'm doing one trade as well. Hughes to Niko.
Okay.
I could do Lucas to Young.
Ooh. Yep.
Which I kind of like. But Niko, just over the next 2 weeks,
he scares you more.
He definitely scares me.
Yeah. Well, the Raiders have the buy a week sooner as well. Yep. So, I look, as I said, I think Niko could be, if the Sharks just take a step back from themselves and remember what worked 2 weeks ago, they could easily be the team that scores a lot of points in the next 3 weeks, and Niko could benefit from that. He has so far.
All right, and now tipping point. I got one on the weekend. 12-8. It was nearly clean sweep. 4-5.
So I nearly clean swept you the week before.
Yeah, you nearly did. It was one. But I got one back. The only one I didn't get right, which was I said Payne Haas will score over 84.
Yep.
And he scored 60. But I got Dylan Edwards. It went my way, the updates finally.
Yeah.
I said under 85, under 86 maybe.
Yeah.
I better better check that. But yeah, he got 85.
Yeah.
Downdated. I said Cleary over 85.
Yeah.
I said Niko under 95 and Brayley under 80. So
Nice. And Brayley scored a try and only got 60.
It was funny because I forgot about my tipping point when he scored the try, and I'm like, I looked at it and I'm like, holy crap.
It was a good week for like non-owners of him because he just didn't have to do any work at all. Like it was just pick the ball up in the opposition 20.
So I said Edwards under 86.
Oh, yeah.
So the updates really helped me there. I still would have won, but I would have loved for that to happen. Just the narrative. Niko under 95, Brayley under 80, Cleary over 85, and Payne Haas over 84. Brings it to 8-12. So if you guys get a win, it's over. Like, because there's only 4. How many weeks after this week? There's
5, mate.
There's 5 after this week?
So
5 including this week?
So you can afford one more loss and then
it could be a tie.
And you could tie. Yeah.
Okay.
So 6 from this week,
Okay.
So you can still win outright as well.
Well, do we take it through to SuperCoach?
Oh, don't you start trying to weasel out of it. Come on.
No. Okay. Tipping point. Cleary, Hines, Teddy, Grant, Edwards. Big dogs. Nathan Cleary against the Titans, 3 p.m. Slightly wet. Let's start at 85.
I'll go over 87.
I'll go over 90.
I'll go over 92.
I'll go over 95.
I'll go under.
Tough one. Niko Hines against the Cowboys. Start at 75.
I'll go over 78.
I'll go over 80.
I'll go over 82.
I'll go under 82.
Yeah, that's fair.
Teddy versus the Roosters. Versus the Manly.
That would be pretty impressive to watch him play the whole his own team.
Teddy versus the Manlys.
Manlys. What are you going?
75 over.
I'm going to say over, and I'm going to go over 78.
I'm going to go over 90.
I'll go under 90. Do think he's due for a score, but I can't take that number on in the wet.
Harry Grant versus the Parramatta Eels on Thursday night. I'll start at 70 and go over.
I'll go over 75.
I'll go over 78.
I'll go under 78.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And Dylan Edwards versus the Titans will start at 70.
Go over 75.
Go over 77.
I'll go over 79.
I'll go under.
Okay. That was good. That was actually a tough negotiation, that one. You're ready. Like you're into it now because you need it.
I know. I need
You're
it.
actually thinking about it rather than just throwing random numbers out.
When it's finally on the line. I've been doing it all year because I did it last year and it just worked for me.
Yeah.
And just
it worked for you. Oh, that's true. Sorry, I forgot. You ended up getting done by your own kind-hearted nature.
Yeah, and Timmy last year, his expectations for scores are like way higher than mine.
He gets excited.
And I think he's learnt to play this year because he's really really tried to keep me lower.
Yeah, no, he has. He's done a good job.
So yeah, I got Cleary over 95. You've got under. I've got Hines under 82. You've got over. I've got Teddy over 90. You've got under. I've got Grant over 78. You've got under. And I've got Edwards under 79 and you've got over. So there we go. And our captains for the week. I want to read out some stats.
Yep. Because
I had these for sit versus start, but I was like, hang on a minute. They captain-worthy stats. The Cowboys have averaged 56.6 to halfbacks in the last 3 weeks. Manly Seagulls have averaged 96.6 to fullbacks, which I think Teddy's due. I think the Roosters are due. I think Manly
Daniel Tupou is due.
Yeah,
Daniel Tupou, please be due, please.
What, for 3 tries? Because he's done 2 and he's scored 60 still.
Yeah, I know. Well, he should have.
He's not really a base stat monster, is he?
He usually averages like 40 in base power, so he hasn't had to do much the last couple of weeks. Just catch it, put it down.
Yeah.
Alex Johnston.
170 tries.
Yeah.
You hope you get some easy ones.
True.
But yeah, so Teddy, and he also loves the Manly Sea Eagles as well. So I actually think that there is a play in potentially going a VC Cleary into Teddy captain, especially if the rain's heavy. But I think death riding that 3 p.m. Saturday game is going to be tough.
Yep.
So his last 3 performances versus the Sea Eagles, 126, 103, 89, and he averages 83.6 versus the Manly Sea Eagles, a high score of 162.
Could you VC in the 3 p.m. game and captain
Could
Teddy?
I?
Like, is that something you would consider VCing in the 3 p.m. game and captaining Teddy?
I would, but I think the rain in Sydney makes it an easier choice. It also it just depends on how heavy the rain is. Maybe
everywhere.
Maybe it's a week where you don't want to miss out on Cleary, so maybe keep the VC up your sleeve for Saturday just to scope out the scores
you
and
can do
the
that.
weather.
Yep.
Because there's every chance that any game before that, which is the Dolphins game, like don't just throw a VC on Herbie just because you need to throw a VC, if that's what you're thinking.
Yeah, I am actually thinking about VCing Herbie, but that's because you know what I'm like with rain and factoring that in. I think if that is really going to be one of the only dry games, I'd rather have a player in that and then work it out from there rather than you could do what your plan is. That those would be the 2 viable options, which is keep the VC into that game, and if it doesn't go great, maybe you need to sit on a forward or something like that. But I'm trying to avoid forwards this week if I can, even though it's wet.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see one of them that's just like, oh, yeah, okay, I can always fall back on him. And they play, Haas plays early in the round as well.
Yeah.
He'd be the guy that I wouldn't mind doing it on because I think
I nearly captained him last week, after not having a captain option and Drinky not going massive. I mean, I had the loop activate at halftime because he was on 90.
So did I. Had to unwind
after that I was scrambling a bit. Karaz was actually an option, and
that would have been nice
because I had no strike, I had no strike power. So
you got it right in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Karaz would have been good, but at least I'm still got in Cleary.
Good thing, the difference is Kiraz is so highly owned that you still double what everyone else got on him, but it's not like that much of an advantage. Whereas Cleary wasn't as high owned.
Exactly.
He's like 40% owned, and you captained him. It's nice.
I liked it. All right, well, thank you for tuning in. Good episode. We were really excited for this one, but feels like we covered a lot. But also we did.
Reece Walsh. That'd be my pod VC if I don't own him, and I know some people. I just wanted for people who do own him.
You did say that was dry as well.
I think that game's should be dry, or at least drier. And I just think, as you talked about with the Bunnies, maybe not being able to get to that level again that they got to, and the Broncos really they can't play worse than they played last week.
Can we do a cheeky Reece Walsh, Adam Reynolds tipping point for just a punishment when you come on next?
If you want to do
a chili.
I could do that, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you want.
All right. So Reece Walsh and Adam Reynolds, I'll start them both at 80.
I'll take over 82 on both.
I'll go over 85 on both.
I'll go over 80. I'll go over 87 on both.
I'll go under 87 for Walsh, but I'll go over 90 for Reynolds.
All right. I'll take that. I'll take unders on
over
90 for Walsh.
90 Walsh. So I've got over 90 Reynolds. And you've got over 87 on Walsh.
Yep.
I like that. What if it's tiebreaker? Then
both eat the chili.
All right, let's
no chili.
No, all right, cool.
Right.
I like that. I like how that's a good thing to do. Maybe we should do in the future. One player there's a punishment next week.
Yep. If I think that's fine, especially when Timmy's here, and then whoever loses has to get the Felice Kafusi haircut again. Just make sure you get that right.
I'm gonna need to eat some cheeseburgers first. I think that's what Timmy would say.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Tune in for the Q&A episode tomorrow night.